Girl, can I keep it real? Between possible ADHD, onset of perimenopause, managing these two toddlers, and trying to maintain my mental health while being somebody's wife, baby, if I never understood the importance of self care, sis, I understand it now. So many of us are pouring from an empty cup and wondering why we feel completely depleted and defeated. If that's you and you are in need of an escape, if you are craving a break from your routine, then I want to personally invite you to join me July 14th through 28th for a totally free virtual wellness experience. For 14 days, we're going to meet at 8 p.m. Eastern every single day to experience wellness in a whole new way. I'm talking guided meditation, yoga, breath work, group therapy, grief counseling, sound bowl therapy, and so much more. If you're interested in learning human design, all about your attachment style, or you want to figure out how you can maintain your mental while managing marriage and motherhood, this is for you. Join me at the Selfish Summer Summit by tapping the link in the notes below. You deserve to get a little selfish, sis. Welcome back to another episode of the Girl Stop Playing podcast. It's your favorite homegirl, Coriel, here to encourage you to stop playing with your potential and start working for what you want in life and in love. You already know that I'm bringing you the information and the conversations to help you make the money and get the honey. You can have it all as long as you are willing to work. And today I have a working woman in the studio. My girl Jennifer Arnise is joining us on Girl Stop Playing. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So I have a prop for today. We have our handy dandy tissue ready. Today's topic, I'm going to try very hard not to use. I'm going to try not to use this tissue. I'm going to try not to wet up these eyelashes. But y'all already know I got mommy issues. Your girl got mama drama. And today we are talking to the mother womb. Do you consider yourself like the mother womb expert? The mother womb whisperer?
I don't know if I'm the mother wound whisperer. I would say I'm the authority.
Ooh.
I would say
okay,
I would say I'm the black mother wound authority. I'm the authority on mother wounds for black women.
Okay, so is that going to be your introduction? Because I was going to say introduce yourself, but that sounds like an introduction. Go ahead and tell the people who you are.
My name is Jennifer Arnise. I'm an author, I'm a podcast host, and I'm a guide. And I help black women who have challenging and toxic relationships with their mothers.
How did you get here? That is quite a specialty.
Because the relationship with my mother has been the centerpiece of my life, even as a child. I remember being maybe 7 or 8 years old and watching Mommy Dearest. It's an old movie with Joan Crawford.
Okay.
And she's a famous woman and she adopts a daughter and she treats the daughter horribly. And then she adopts a son and she dotes on the son. And it's just this horrific relationship that ensues. And I remember sitting at the babysitter's house watching it and sobbing and being like, oh, that's me. That's me. Like, I saw myself in that. And I was like, and that's when I knew like, oh, I'm not crazy.
And you were how old?
I was like 8 or 9. You know, I saw that and I saw Imitation of Life. In Imitation of Life, you had the daughter rejecting the mother. And in Mommy Dearest, you had the mother rejecting the daughter. And both of those really created a space in my mind that something wasn't right.
I am sitting here wondering, because before we started, I talked to you about how my mommy issues were like exposed times 10 when I became a mother myself at 35. I can't imagine having come to this realization at 7 or 8 and like knowing, being able to put not necessarily a language to it, but being able to recognize that something is wrong at such an early age. How do you think that impacted just your development, like knowing at such an early age that there was issues or challenges with your mom?
I think it created a complex trauma because I love this woman so much. She was on the highest pedestal. I thought it was my fault. But then at the same time, I knew like something's not right. And even my parents divorced when I was 5. And he was really my advocate. Even he was the only person that would openly say, even when I was young, she don't treat you right. Now, these weren't things he probably should have been saying in front of me, but this was an argument they would have. And it would just be like, why? It was so glaring to me, especially when my brother was born. And I was like, wow, she treats us so differently. So my whole life, I was very protective of her and also trying to figure out how to get in her good graces, but then also trying to be myself. It was just a mess. It was just a conflict on every level.
Is it just you and your brother?
That was my younger brother. I have an older brother.
Okay.
And I always thought that he had it good too. But then when I got older and I was like 40 and we had a conversation and I was like, oh, she fucked you over.
He got his own trauma.
Yeah, because she didn't really raise him. My father raised him. But it never dawned on me that he never came to our house. She never picked him up, things like that. And I was like, oh, okay.
Did you ever get to the root of, and I know we're talking about our own issue, but we're going to talk about mother wounds in general. But with your specific situation, did you ever get to the root of like what was the issue with your mother?
I believe that. Well, I know my mother grew up in a very traumatic way. She grew up in the Jim Crow South and agricultural South Carolina. She was one of 12 children. She picked cotton from the time she was 3 or 4 years old. She left home at 16. I know just from hearing stories about my grandfather and different things, like there was a lot of trauma in their life. And I believe that having me triggered a lot. And I think also when she had me, she probably was already not in a happy relationship with my father. So here you are with a second child. Like, what am I going to do? And I think she had some type of break in that during her being pregnant with me. The pregnancy, the marriage, all those types of things. And I think that I think all of her fear came to the surface when she had me. Because I do remember I was raised in Pentecostal Church of God in Christ. So I do remember her saying when I was younger, like for her, the Bible was this thing where she could read about how to overcome fear. So that was her. Everything she looked for in the Bible was like how to overcome fear. And I think I triggered all of her fear, all of her powerlessness, all of the ways that she didn't have autonomy or a lack of agency. And you had a daughter that was born with no fear, who was like, running wild, just free, like a child should be. And I think that was alarming to her. It was dangerous to her. And I think it was like, how dare you, And I don't think she even had a emotional or mental processing for the type of human being that I was. It was completely foreign to her. And I think it may have made her feel inadequate. Mm-hmm. And I think it may have just scared her tremendously. And then maybe she felt like, how do I raise this person? Along with, you're also triggered at the same time.
You just said so much because we always talk about, like on these podcasts and statistics about, single mother households as if it's just this kind of theory. Like these are not people. And we often, because we dehumanize it and turn it into statistics and numbers, it's like, think about what that single mother is going through. Mm-hmm. And I am y'all know, y'all be trying to cancel me every day of the week because I'm anti choosing to be a single mother. Okay. I'm anti making this choice that this is what's best for you and your child. Right. Number one, because it's not what's best for you. And number two, because it's not what's best for your child mentally. Mm-hmm. And so when it comes to children being raised by women who are not fully developed, whether you're single or in a relationship, I don't think that we put enough emphasis on the impact that has on that child. Because if you are not mentally prepared, which are any of us mentally prepared to become mothers? Probably not. But if you have not dealt with your own trauma, having that child can absolutely trigger something in you. Right. And so
But she could have stayed with my father, and that trauma still would have.
No, but that's what I'm saying. It's not even about the single or
Yeah,
married.
it's
It's
not
about
even
the
about single or
development
married.
of
It's
the
of the
woman.
person.
Of the,
It has
and
nothing
that
to do
woman,
with married versus single.
It's nothing to do with married versus single, because you
Yes.
could be a teen mom and marry that teen daddy and you're still married, but you have not fully developed and
Yes.
grown up. So you're growing up with your child.
Absolutely.
So I think that there's no resources, there's no conversation, there's no solutions around helping that child develop. It's just focusing on the relationship status of the mother versus the development of the child.
Right.
And I think that the mother wound, it seems like it can come from a lot of places. So I want to talk about some of the other, I guess, roots. But I heard generational trauma in what you were saying. So your mother was, grew up in very racially traumatic, right?
Absolutely.
Times.
Yeah.
And
racially and gender-based trauma.
All of the things that she had to
things.
deal with herself
Yes.
that she probably did not deal with herself. And then when she saw you, it's like, okay, I haven't even dealt with my own stuff. Now I'm responsible for you.
Yes.
What are you seeing are like the roots or reasons of like your clients that you're working with? Is it a lot of generational stuff? Is it what happened to them?
Well, it's all generational, because a mother wound is by definition a generational wound. And it's a generational wound. I'm going to tell you the mother wound versus the black mother wound, or how they go together and what's the difference. A mother wound is a generational wound of a woman brought on by the patriarchy, meaning because she's a woman in a society ruled by men, she has lost autonomy. She can't buy a house. She can't go to school. She can't get a driver's license. She can't vote. We're talking about 1800, 1900s. We're talking about us in this country and other countries, where because you have a vagina, you're not a real person. So how does someone even process that? Do you understand the job you've got to do on a girl's mind to tell her that you don't have any value and your only way to survive is to attach yourself to a man? Literally, that is your only way to survive. And in ways now, in modern romance, we still feel that way. Yeah, we call it something else, but really we still look at, I need to be rescued because genetically I'm not equipped to take care of myself, right? So when you lose that autonomy, that is trauma in and of itself. Someone telling you you're not good enough. Then you have a daughter, and this is the mother wound to the daughter. You have to now tell her she's not good enough, because that's the only way.
That's all you know?
Because how else are you going to, you're not saying you're not good enough, but you're saying, oh, you better be pretty or nobody's going to want you. You better study hard because you're not pretty. You better behave. You better serve, because your survival depends on the approval of others.
Someone else choosing you.
Right. And whether it's a job choosing you, a society choosing you, a friend group choosing you, whatever it is, you've better attach to something, because alone you really are nothing. So you have that, and then you have this mother who doesn't have autonomy over herself, and she has to raise somebody else. So you're telling me I got to tell somebody else what to do when I've never been allowed to tell anybody else what to do. I have to manage all of these things for another person's emotions, their mind. I've never been allowed to do that for myself. That is the wound that gets passed down.
Does that turn into jealousy?
It can turn into jealousy. It doesn't always turn into jealousy, but jealousy is the fear of losing something that you don't have. So if you are someone who feels empowered, and now that you have a child, they have more power than you just by the nature of the year they were born. My mother was born in the 40s. I was born in the 70s. I was born with more freedom than her, right? She may have thought she had a certain level of freedom, but then until I came along, like, oh, she can walk down the street. Like literally things that simple she can do. My mother was in her 20s before she could go into a segregated restaurant. Like we think it's a long time ago. We really don't understand the impact of misogyny and systematic racism, how it puts a black woman at the bottom of the totem pole. So a white woman can have a regular mother wound, but she doesn't have to contend with her race also being a deterrent.
Gotcha.
Her race keeps her closer to power. Whereas with a black woman, her race takes more of her power away. So now you have a little black girl and you were unsuccessful in coping with life successfully because all of the cards were taken away from you. And now you're trying to help somebody else be successful and you love them more than anything, but you know you don't have anything to give them. And then you become being exposed because the tradition of black parenting is I know everything, I'm always right, I'm never to be questioned. But in your mind, you know that you're confused, you know you're lost, you know you're stressed out, you know you have no idea what you're doing. But to show that means that you're a failure as a parent. And that is the shame. And that is the mother wound is directly connected to the tradition of black parenting, which in a lot of ways is very toxic.
Isn't it also connected to the process of how children were taken from their slave
Absolutely.
parents?
Yes,
so
ma'am.
if your child is seen as valuable in any way, you're gonna be the prize of the litter. They want your baby first. So when massa come around, you want to talk about all the negative things that's wrong with this kid so that nobody wants them. But we never stopped doing that.
We never. That's what I mean by our black parenting is rooted in chattel slavery. So you're taught you have no value. Everything can be taken away from you, including your children. So when you have a child and you're still in slavery, you want to love them, but not love them too much because they can't be weak. They got to be strong.
And you don't want nobody else to love them either.
You don't want nobody else to love them because that's danger. Because you don't want massa to take them. So you want maybe if she's not this or that, she can stay with me. Maybe I'll get to love her. So you understand the conflict in that. So this child might be brilliant. You better not ever let anybody know that you're smart, right? You better not let anybody know that you got a beautiful smile. When you grow, that's why in my opinion, black girls are sexualized so early on because that presents danger. And that was me. By the time I was 12, I was shaped like a Coke bottle. So it's like I couldn't wear pants. I couldn't wear earrings. When I finally could wear pants, they were like 3 sizes too big. Everything was like, you're the guilty party. If I can control this just for showing up. And this is all she knows. And it's like, I know I've been doing this work a long time. So I don't have that sense of animosity toward my mother anymore. Like, well, why she do that? Why she could do? Because I see her as a person and I understand the history of black parenting in America. Well, not only America, but even because I have clients in the Caribbean and Africa, the way colonialization has shaped the view of the African-centered woman in parenting and in life and how everything has been taken from her. And it is not to make an excuse, but it is a generational trauma. It's a political trauma. It's everything.
So I want to go to your point of I can see her because we, as evolved women, we know that we can't just look at our mother as our mother. We have to separate the mother from the woman. So I didn't talk to my therapist. For the life of me, I know that I should be separating the mother from the woman. And I know that most of the time, these mamas are doing the best they can.
Right.
So that is my disclaimer. I understand that. But how do you separate your personal feelings? Like, how do you exist in the evolved mindset of this woman did the best that she could and not settle back into the hurt daughter whose feelings are hurt and you want her to do better and you don't care what happened to her when she was younger? Because my thing, let me tell y'all a little bit of my business. My thing has been, I know that my mother's relationship with her mother was toxic and, all of these things. So in her opinion, as long as she's not doing whatever her mom did, she's doing good enough. In my opinion, your good enough is not good enough because I now know that I have to do even better for my children. So how come I can recognize that my children deserve better and actually make attempts to do better and you can still use the excuse of what was done to you? So how do you navigate that space of knowing that you're just a human, but I want you to do better?
So there are 2 answers to this question. And first I'm going to start with, and I hope therapists don't get upset with me. This is the issue I have when therapists have the rationale that your mother was doing her best. You have to see her as a woman. that really, and I had to, me and my therapist had to have a come into Jesus moment, because we were still centering seeing her differently. And if you have it's very difficult, because how we see mother is like Jesus. So even therapists really don't know how to take mother, especially if you have a Black female therapist, off the pedestal and say, you know what? As long as we in here, she ain't shit. She gonna not be shit while you here, until you can get to that point. Because what you're trying to tell me is, I have 2 legs, I should be able to run, but I can't. So you want me to focus on running instead of mending the bone, right? And this is what I told her. I said, if I was in a car accident, no, if I was walking across the street and a car hit me, right, and I broke my leg, and the person who was driving, they were a great driver. They just, for a moment, they weren't paying attention, right? But my leg is broken. Who does the ambulance come to? Do they come to me, or do they come to the driver?
They coming to you.
Because what my therapist before we understood everything, it was like, we need to make sure that we understand the driver.
The driver wasn't a bad person. He was doing his best. He just looked down for
But
a
the
minute.
911 comes, and you know what the police does? The police arrest the driver first, period, because you've caused harm. And so I believe we have to focus on the harm caused first, not the understanding of the person who caused the harm. And I think that when we don't do that, we invalidate the Black girl even more. And we tell her again, we're going to put your feelings to the back, and I just need you to be rational. I need you to be mature. I need you to be all the things that nobody ever was to you, which continues to wound you, right? So I don't focus on forgiveness. I have women that reach out and they're like, well, how can I forgive my mother? I'm just so angry. Why are you so hell-bent on forgiving her right now? Why is forgiving her the most important thing?
Because society tells you that you ain't shit if you don't talk to your mama, if you got a problem with your mama.
Absolutely. And so I'm not an advocate of talking to anybody who makes you feel less than, period. Because if we're going to see her as a normal person and not just my mother, I wouldn't let a normal person treat me that way. So we can't mix up the two now. If she gonna get the rule of being a normal person, not just my mother, then she has to be accountable the way I would hold anybody else accountable if they treated me poorly. I can't give you special treatment in one way and then say, well, she's a person. And you cannot see something until you can see it. So the reason we can't separate from, she's my mother versus a real person is because we don't have a real solid self-identity. Our identity is tied up in who she is to us, who I am to her. We don't have autonomy. And that is what the mother wound is. It's your lack of autonomy. So the more you create a healthy sense of self through reparenting, through creating a healthy, loving relationship with yourself, naturally your perspective shifts and you will naturally then see her differently. But the priority on seeing her differently first is not the case. Like, if somebody was to murder my child, nobody would be sitting around saying, you need to forgive them. They had a hard life. That wouldn't be the case. So it's only because she's our mother. And I'm not advocating, I'm not advocating either way. You might come to a point where you don't want to talk to her anymore. You have to do what's best for you. But I think therapists can do a disservice in, she's a real person. She's a real person. No, I'm a real person. So let's focus on me being a real person. Let's focus on how I feel. And that was the conversation we had. And she was like, oh, so yeah, this is my hour.
Yeah, she didn't come here. And that's what I tell these mamas are not willing to go. They're not willing to be accountable. Right. They're not willing to do any of the work, which is why it also does a disservice, which is something I had to work through, of holding on to hope of I'm going to change myself so much that it'll change you.
That it will change her.
No. It's not. And it's an even bigger slap in the face when you do so much work. And it's like, because a part of that work is probably wanting the acceptance, wanting the approval, thinking that you can turn yourself into good enough.
But that's manipulative. It's really manipulative. If I become this way, then you'll do this.
It's me trying to manipulate her.
Yeah.
Oh.
You trying to but that is the mind of a child. Because as children, when you're upset, your babies, they want to fix it because they think it's because of them. Children are naturally self-centered. They think that everything that happens is because of them. And if they never develop out of that, you'll become an adult thinking that whenever anybody is mad, that is something you did wrong.
Your fault.
That's something I heal from currently. I ain't gonna say I'm healed. I'm always healing from that. Because if someone that I care about is upset, or even it's like they're having a bad day, instantly I feel guilt, even if I haven't done anything wrong, right? So I think if I can be good enough, I can then impact this other person's behavior.
You'll be okay if I can do better.
Yeah, so the reasoning is great, but it still is a manipulation because we believe I can't really be happy unless I have a good relationship with my mother. I can't really be at peace unless I can have a good relationship with her.
And you're saying that I just got to reparent myself too.
You have to reparent yourself.
I be going so far. Jennifer, I be like a mile. You know they say you give an inch. I be like a mile down the road, and then it'll still be like Christmas Day, but you're not gonna call me. You know, like it'll still be like I'm waiting on something. I'm hoping for something that's just not going to happen.
Right. Yeah. And what does it mean to you if she does call you? What does that mean to you?
The acknowledgement.
But what does it mean to you? What does that acknowledgement mean to you?
Acceptance.
Yeah, but what does that mean to you? It means that I am important. I can really believe somebody loves me.
As a woman, and again, me comparing just the fact that I've known, I just felt like me and my mama didn't like each other because I didn't have the words. I didn't have the language. We just didn't like each other. I knew that we did not like each other. And I've known that, but I feel like I've been I haven't been faking. I've just been being how we have always been forever. But until I became a mother, I didn't realize how dysfunctional it was. And unfortunately, in having this podcast and just having mature conversations, I realized that I am not unique. Like a lot of my girlfriends have a lot of issues with their mothers. And as a woman, realizing that the first person who is supposed to love you the most, who is supposed to teach you how to be a woman, dropped the ball, that's a very hard reality. And it's also it brings a lot of self-awareness. And you can kind of go down a rabbit hole of like, well, what else has this caused? Or how else
it
has
has
this
impacted every area of your life. It is the thread that goes through your entire life. It is the water you swim in. Our mother is the water that we swim in.
What are other things that I may be doing, like you recognizing that you have guilt when things are not going well for other people? What are some of those other behaviors that women out there might be displaying but not even realizing could be stemming from a mother wound?
I think something that people don't like to look at, especially if I think about your audience, success as a trauma response.
You mean especially when you think about me?
I'm not talking about you. I'm just talking about, the people who listen, the women who want it all. And I'm one of those women.
Explain that. That comes from us wanting to impress our mothers?
Well, it becomes how you see yourself. My worthiness is tied up in my achievement. How many degrees, how many certificates, how many raises, how few days I miss from work, how well I perform defines my value and increases my chances of being loved and accepted. It creates my own safety bubble, because if I'm just myself, if I make a mistake, if I don't know the answer, if I don't get it right the first time, if I don't get it right the second time, I run the risk of being rejected. I run the risk of being abandoned. And we think that because it's happened our whole life, we think it's normal. We think, oh, well, that's how it should be. And so we then become hypercritical of ourselves, but we don't think we're hypercritical. We think we're a perfectionist.
Mm. So overachievers.
Overachievers. And then what goes in that group are women who don't know how to ask for help.
Now, is this all of us, or is it just worse when you got a mother wound?
No, there are women who ask for help, but you have to understand the having a mother wound as a Black woman is almost guaranteed. Unless you had a mother who really had someone in her life help her evolve. And I want to clarify this. You can have a mother wound and still have a cool relationship with your mother. Think of it as a spectrum, right? So you could talk to your mother every day, y'all hang out all the time, but somewhere your autonomy is you have sacrificed some of your autonomy to maintain the relationship with your mother.
Meaning you are going to sacrifice yourself. There's some things you might not talk about. There might
be small things.
You can keep the peace.
So you can keep the peace. But it doesn't mean that she talks junk to you, or y'all don't hang out together or go places or have wonderful conversations. But you know that you're not going to tell her about the new job you're thinking about getting that would move you across the country. You know you're not going to tell her that. You know you're not going to tell her that you met a new guy, because you know when you bring up that, this thing happens. You know that you're not going to tell her your clothes don't fit, because she already said stuff about your weight. You know when you come to her house, you better be dressed to the nines. Otherwise, she's going to, talk bad about you in some sort of way.
What about this one? You're not going to tell her about your accomplishments, because there's not going to be a congratulations. There's not going to be any.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. There's not, ma'am, don't make me pass out. Yeah. You're
What
not
is
going
that?
to, well, this is the whole thing. What happens with parenting. And now you're a mother, and this will be good for you.
My babies.
But listen.
My heart bursts for my children.
I understand that. One, you're in a different place, but they also still need you. There will come a point in your life where they will not need you. And when my son is 16, so I'm going to tell you from here, not being needed after being needed 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, can make you feel like, what is my worth? What am I even here for? And it's not something you think consciously. It's just like, what is my purpose has been them so long. What is my purpose now? Because
what do I do now?
What do I do now? And if you're not building something for yourself, if your identity is around being a parent and being the hero, and here somebody has surpassed you, it's like, you're making me look bad. Because all of those things within them, they have not processed in the ways they have not been able to. You have to, and this is what I always tell people too. We're iPhone 15. Our mother is a flip phone. You can't FaceTime on a flip phone. You can't listen to music on a.
Okay, listen. I'm about to let you in on my secret weapon for the summer. It's by the Osea brand, and it's an algae body oil. Now, you're probably thinking, algae? Yes, baby. This vegan, cruelty-free, clean body oil literally leaves me with the perfect summer glow. It leaves my skin feeling soft and smooth, and it has the best scent. It's like this citrusy grapefruit scent that literally my husband can't keep his hands off of me. If you want to experience this for yourself, log on to OseaMalibu.com, search for Undaria algae body oil, and use GSPP as your discount code to save 10% off. That's OseaMalibu.com.
What's the easiest choice you can make? Window instead of middle seat? Picking a vendor who sends a great gift basket? Outsourcing business tasks you hate? What about selling with Shopify? Whether you're selling a little or a lot, Shopify helps you do your thing, however you cha-ching. Shopify is the global commerce platform that helps you sell at every stage of your business. From the launch your online shop stage to the first real-life store stage, all the way to the did we just hit 1 million orders stage. Shopify's there to help you grow. Whether you're selling scented soap or offering outdoor outfits, Shopify helps you sell. Wherever and whatever you're selling, Shopify's got you covered. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/try. Go to shopify.com/try now to grow your business, no matter what stage you're in. Shopify.com/try.
Flip phone. Like, so that is the best way I can say how you separate, is to really be like, the technology did not exist for them. They are a flip phone.
A dinosaur, baby. That did it for me.
Yeah. If they're a flip phone,
her processing,
she doesn't
it
have
just
a
is
processor.
not-
Right. But we see really being mother, the idea of mother is really an objectification of a woman. We have objectified her as all-knowing, all-loving, omnipotent, omniscient, like I said, like Jesus. And so the standard that is set, that we say a mother should be this, a mother should be that. No mother is that. And the people who walking around who you see on Instagram talking about their mother is that, they lying, because they in my DMs talking about how broken up they are over the relationship with their mother, but they don't want to show that. You know what I'm saying? Because there's so much shame associated with it.
There's so much shame associated with it.
Because if this is the bottom line, if my mother doesn't love me, I must be really fucked up. And I don't want anybody to know I'm that fucked up, because that means nobody else is going to love me. So she needs to be the evidence of my worthiness. And we have to change that dynamic. We have to change that conversation and even take her off that pedestal, because as mothers, we need to take ourselves off that pedestal, because that's how we become better mothers, by being able to apologize to our kids. My mother could never apologize to me.
To this day.
So what that creates is, I look at you, I can't trust you, because I know you wrong and you know you wrong, but you don't want to acknowledge it. You have broken the trust. So you want blind obedience, which means now I can't think for myself. But then you tell me I need to be out here a good critical thinker. So there's a conflict.
Make it make sense.
It doesn't make sense, but it's all they have. It's their processor.
So the trust issues, because we're talking about like how this is displayed. Trust issues, I think we often go directly to romantic relationships, but you have to trust your friends, right?
Stop. You don't trust yourself. A lack of self-trust.
Is that a mother wound thing? You didn't trust your mama, so now you don't trust yourself?
No, your mother didn't trust you. Your mother didn't trust you, and you grew up knowing something was off, right? But you've been gaslit so much that now you don't even trust your own knowing in anything. You like, well, does he like me or does he not like me? Because you're so confused about what is true and what's not. So you've had to abandon yourself so much. So you don't trust yourself. So a big way it shows up, and it's so funny, I was talking about this in an IG Live about being indecisive. I thought that was just me. The women came out of the woodworks. Like, I can't even sometimes make a simple decision as what I'm going to eat for dinner. I will sit in the kitchen and just like, what am I going to eat? What am I going to do? You know, how am I going to move forward? Indecisiveness ruined me for a very long time in business, because I was like, well, should I do this? Should I do that? Well, you know, you don't want to make a wrong decision, because if you make one wrong decision, it's over. So the lack of self-trust that you have in your own self. So you can never really trust anybody else. And that's why this work is it all comes back to you. It all comes back to the relationship you have with yourself.
How do you work through this trust part, though?
You work through the trust part it's a muscle. So you just have to start making decisions, and start even with small decisions, and seeing the evidence that all hell didn't break loose. Oh, I'm going to make the phone call. It's scary. It's scary to do this, but it is building a muscle of trust. You know what? I don't think I should talk to that person anymore. I'm going to stop answering the phone. Then 2 days later, you see how good you feel not hearing their voice. You're like, oh, wow. Oh, you realize they weren't good for you. And you just have to keep building on that and building on that. It is, you have to do it in such a micro way, because we make a lot of decisions during the day, right? Even what are you going to wear? Some people can't even get out of the closet because they're like, well, if I wear this, I look fat. If I all
I'm
these
not indecisive
things.
because I'm a Libra. It's because I got mommy issues.
No, I wish people would leave horoscopes
Leave that
alone right
out of
now.
this.
Because
It's my mama. Forget
right.
the zodiac.
Yeah,
It
and
is
my son is a Libra, and he is very indecisive.
okay. So
as
that
well.
might be a little bit too. Okay. So, but mothering with a mother wound.
Yes, ma'am.
What is the solution? Because the trickiness comes in if you have not completely cut your mother off, because that's a whole
Right.
nother category. Like you said, it's a spectrum.
Yeah.
But if you have not reached that level yet, not only does becoming a mother rip the Band-Aid off of any trauma you had, now that you are sitting in the mother's seat, feeling how
Yeah.
you feel as a mother and realizing your own mother never felt that way about you or never displayed it.
Absolutely.
That's one part of it. But then another part is I don't want to be selfish and not let my children experience the relationship with their grandmother because of my relationship with my mother. How do you navigate the line of advocating for yourself, but then not ruining a relationship between your children and their grandmother?
I think that mothering with a mother wound starts with prioritizing. You are the third child. You have 3 children. You have your little boys, and then you have little Coriel. And so you mother them at the same time. You realize the way that you talk to them. Now, why did you do that? You know you're not supposed to do that. You got to talk to yourself the same way. When you make a mistake, instead of, God damn it, what the fuck am I? You're like, you know what? It's cool. It's cool. It's cool. It's cool. I know you didn't mean to do that. That is how it's like, even though you had your kids at 35, you're still raising yourself with them. And when it comes to one, you don't have the power to ruin a like. Just think about the gravity of what you're saying. I don't want to ruin the relationship between my kids and their grandmother. You can't. You don't have the power to ruin anything.
If they ain't never see this lady.
But listen, that you're not responsible. You're still saying I'm responsible for people loving my mother. The same way you were. She's my mother. You're still trying to make something be that might not be. Like, you have to set boundaries. Like, if she treats them in a loving way, I have no problem with you coming over, picking them up, calling them. I don't have a problem dropping them off sometimes, but I'm not the person who has to own the relationship. If you want to be in their lives, you have to show that you want to be in their lives. I'm not responsible for the relationship you build with your grandchildren.
You know what's the mind fuck in all of it, though, Jennifer, is seeing my mother be like Mary Poppins.
Well, there's no pressure.
With my kids.
There's no pressure. You understand? She can't fail. They're not a reflection of her. The pressure is gone. And for her, it's like,
she can just enjoy it.
She can enjoy it. But that happens with, even if mother wound isn't a part of the scenario, grandparents are always, when they come to their grandkids, they can relax a lot
But it's
easier.
not even the relaxing. It's like, how can you not say I love you to your daughter, but you can say a million I love you to your grandson? How can you not give your daughter a hug? It makes you uncomfortable.
Because you're a reflection of her. She can't say she loves herself.
Well, what are they a reflection of? Me?
They are...
It's just disconnect. Like,
yeah.
I am really trying to rationalize
They are a reflection of you once removed. So it's still not her. But you are her. You're every dream she ever wanted but didn't get. All of the life she lived before you, like, we really don't. And this is like, when I talk to my son about my childhood, about how I was before he was born, like, because I want him to see me as a real person. In Black parenting, we don't talk about who we were before we had our kids. We don't say, girl, I was in them streets. I used to date such and such, and he broke my heart. And so we don't even understand they have a whole history of pain. And through Black parenting, you're taught you kind of have to show yourself perfect to be a good parent. which is also like I now have to deny myself. Now, we didn't ask them to do that, but we do get punished for it. The ways in which they have denied themselves erroneously, because really they would have been better off if they would have just been a fuck up in front of us, because we could have been like, oh, it's okay to make a mistake and still be loved, But you would have to talk to somebody who knows about grandparents, but it's not. It's just that you just gonna have to eat that one.
I gotta eat that one.
Yeah, because even if no matter what, they don't see the grandchild, but sometimes they do. Like my mother still had a lot of issues with I raised my son different than how she raised me, and she took that as a diss
on her, how she raised you.
Yes, it was kind of like I'm being disrespectful because you're trying to do something better than me, and the fear she had about me turning into a bad person because I was free. You're going to turn him into the same way. You're going to spoil him. You better watch out for him. He going to do this and he going to do that. And it was and so she started to treat him how she treated me when I was young.
I know you didn't take that well.
We had a real serious public conversation. And because that's when I was like, oh, I'm grown. Because now it's not about me and you, it's about he and I. And if you get in the way of his development, of him knowing he is loved in any way, I'm going to treat you like a person on the street. Period. The end of the story. Get it together. You will handle yourself accordingly around him.
Parenting your parents. Ooh, that's a whole nother thing.
Well, that's not parenting, because if I would tell a stranger the same thing. So I don't want to, my goal is not to parent anybody but the child I got. You can be whoever you want to be. I'm not going to try and get you to heal. I'm not going to try and get you to do anything you don't want to do.
I need to stop trying to parent this lady. Yeah. I need to let her be.
Because the only reason you want her to change is for your benefit. That's the manipulation.
Gotcha.
You don't want her to change for her benefit. You want her to change for your benefit. So if I did
want her to change for her benefit, though, what would that be?
How do you know what the benefit is for her? Because what you're saying is you know what's better for her than she does. She has her own life path. You trying to turn a flip phone into an iPhone 15.
I'm still holding on.
You still hold right. Instead of being able to say, this phone is for hello, how are you doing? It was nice to talk to you. I'll talk to you later. You can reach me in an emergency. Maybe some mothers are iPhone 5 or 6. Maybe they have a little more technology. You have to realize where your parent is. Because I use the other example. My mother was born in 1946. Imagine a 1946 automobile on 75 during rush hour traffic on a Friday. It wouldn't make it. We wouldn't even expect it to make it. So I don't have an expectation of her to be something because she's mother. That's an objectification of her. She's happier the way she is. If she wasn't, she would be another way. And that's what we have to deal with. And I want her to be happy. So I haven't talked to my mother in almost a decade. She doesn't talk to any of her kids. I think that her nervous system can't take it. And okay, that's your capacity. I'm not gonna say you should be here for my son, for your grand. You don't owe me anything, and you have to release the debt. But I'm not saying release the debt first. The debt will automatically be released the more you build a loving relationship with yourself. I'm not saying release the debt first and then go and do your other work. I'm saying you're gonna just have to sit with the pain of it and turn the focus inward to building a relationship with yourself, and then you'll come up and you'll be like, oh. After 7 years, that debt fell off the credit report. It's not even there anymore.
I think what you said about that self-talk, like being gentle with yourself, the nurturing that you never got, like being that for yourself.
Yeah.
Because I read something in I think the Celestine Prophecy about how your negative self-talk is like the voice of your mother.
Absolutely.
That is traumatizing to think about, that you are literally putting yourself in a further hole based on the trauma that was done to you.
Now you're the predator.
Now you are doing it to yourself.
You are the predator. But this is what happens. And this is, I call it obedient black girl syndrome, right? But I had white people come in my page and like, this happened with our race. I know, whatever. Where if she says it's true, she's the only person who can say it's not true. And we're waiting on her to tell us it's not true, so we have permission to say it's not true. That's how obedient we are. Like which goes back to chattel slavery, how you raise your child. This is the law, and it will be the law. It is the truth until the day you die.
And you don't question it.
Until she comes back and says, it's not your fault. Then you're released. But that shows you don't have autonomy. We have to claim our own autonomy. Freedom ain't free. We want somebody to give us freedom. Give us free. This is not going to work out like that. Freedom is not free. You have to fight for your freedom. Every human being on this planet has to fight for their freedom. This idea that my mother has to give me this freedom is really irresponsible because it is not owed to you. What she gave you is what you got. And now you got to take your cards and you got to play them. I ain't got to say you got to forgive her. I'm not saying you got to be nice to her. But what I'm saying is you got to play your cards. And because the only mother you're going to get is the one that you give yourself.
Let me talk about another joker in my card deck, though. It's my sister.
Ooh.
The relationship with my sister and the mature, evolved self knows that it's my mama.
Yeah.
You know, like I can't even blame my sister at this point. We're too far gone, but I can't even just blame. I can blame her, obviously, for, you know, the decisions that she made as an adult. But the root of our relationship, the root of us never getting along our entire lives, I know it was my mama. Like, I know hands down it was my mother. How do you not allow the relationships, if it's not just your mom?
Yeah.
Because and probably still hold on to some, what did I do? Even knowing that, you know, when I was literally a very little girl, this was always the case. So I know that I literally didn't do anything, but I still deal with the thoughts of maybe you could fix it. Maybe you did something wrong. You know, how do you, and especially if you are disconnected from other members of your family, it might not even be siblings. But I think that once we evolve and mature and go through enough therapy and healing or whatever, you start disconnecting from a lot of people. How do you not blame yourself for that?
For the
disconnect. For the, you know how they say, like, the black sheep become the goat. Being the one that is
the cycle breaker.
Yes.
It goes back to the relationship with yourself. You have to because when you feel guilt, you have to take an assessment and say, did I do something wrong? Or what is this about? Oh, this isn't even about that. This is powerful. I'm so sorry you feel that way. You didn't do anything wrong. You shouldn't have been treated that way. I love you. Like, you had to just, you know how you have to continually pour into your kids. We want to pour into ourselves one time and it be done.
That makes me feel like a psycho, because it's like, are you just telling yourself that to try to convince yourself of that? Or do you really believe it?
Are you trying to convince your kids?
Yes. I really believe it.
So you do have to convince her. You don't believe it in the beginning. But what's wrong with trying to convince yourself of something that you logically know is true?
There's nothing wrong with it.
Right. You have a misunderstanding of yourself over 4 decades. So yeah, you do have to convince. Almost.
I'm about to say, I'm
You have
only
to go-
38, okay?
I mean, we have to
Not
round
4
up.
yet. Okay,
I'm just
round
saying.
up. Go ahead. But yes,
Right.
it's been quite a...
So
yeah.
you have to reconvince. You have to think like, if somebody's in, let's go back to the broken leg. That person might be in physical therapy for a year. You have to repeat it over and over. And it's like, stand up, sit down, stand up, sit down. That's physical therapy. Point your toes, flex your feet, flex your feet, flex your... You might do that for 6 months. What is the rush? The only rush is, I'm not good enough, so I need to get better now. Versus, however I am, however flawed I am, however broken I am, I'm still worthy of love. We're trying to get better so we can feel worthy of love, which is not what healing is, which is really this whole spiritual movement. People are trying to get better and fix it so I can be good enough. To be like, if I have rage for the rest of my life, I'm still good enough. It's reasonable that I will have rage the rest of my life. If I struggle connecting with people on a deep level, that might just be my lot in life. Like
That's a thing too then,
yeah,
huh?
this level
The
of
surface level?
perfection, that we are trying to get to is only because we don't think we're good enough.
Dang, that's what that means. If you're
Yeah.
always going to the next thing, it's because you don't feel like what you already are is not good enough.
Right, yeah. And it's one thing to evolve, but you will naturally evolve, right? If you love yourself, you will naturally evolve. And you will naturally connect to people who align with you. Like this idea that you have to be close to your blood family is not true. You don't, and there are a lot of people who aren't, but we created this image that this is what success looks like. I want to be able to show people this big picture and we all love each other. Who has that? Some people do, some people don't. And it's a spectrum. But why is it so important? That's what you have to think about. The thing that you really, really want that you don't have, why is that thing so important for you to have? Because somewhere you believe you will be happy if you have it. And you have to find a way to get happy now. And when you do that, you'll realize you already have it.
So that sentiment definitely takes me back to my single days and this concept of, be happy now. Don't wait for a man to complete you which I am 1,000% on board with that concept of being a happy woman,
Yes.
single or married, because
Absolutely.
a man is not going to make you happy. I, however, though, very happy with my man. Love my husband to death. This poor man having to deal with a wife with mommy issues. I feel very bad for him. I mean, I warned him when we were dating of like how horrible my relationship was with my mother, but I didn't even anticipate the evolution of just how terrible it is.
What do you think he's dealing with? What is it that he's dealing with?
So the layers of my mommy issues, the surface level friendships. I have, 2 or 3 friends that really know me, who like if something is really going on, like really, really bad, I'll call them.
Right.
Like it got to get real bad, but I do have a couple. My husband is that though. He serves in the role of like my top 5. You know how they say you got your fave 5? He's like all 5 of them. On top of me not having a relationship with my sister, me not having a relationship with my mother. So the closeness that I should have and be able to filter like my life stuff through, it's all going to my husband.
Okay.
And I feel bad about that.
So what you're saying is, and it's not that should be going to your sister and your mother. You would like it to.
Mm-hmm.
You have said that will be correct.
Yes, I have made that determination.
You have made that determination.
Mm-hmm.
So what you're saying is you could relieve pressure from him if you build more meaningful female-female friendships.
Yes.
Right. But that's within your power to do.
And just got my own ish together.
Yeah. Well, everybody's always getting their shit together. But you can build healthier, more loving relationships with the women that you know and with new women. That just has to become a part of your own development.
Is that trust thing? Because that's all I was thinking when you were talking about the trust. Is that I have an issue with people knowing my business because of my mama telling people my business. So that's a thing in friendships for me. And if you don't tell people, like, how can we be friends if I don't know anything about you?
Right. But you have to
practice. I just got to tell them a little bit.
You have to practice, because what is telling people your business? Like, what is the fear that they will judge you?
Oh, it makes my anxiety so bad. Yes. If people know too much about me, they will judge me, use it against me, tell other people. And it could be anything. It ain't even like bad stuff.
Yeah.
It could just be like something good. I mean, it's just anything. Right. Yeah.
So you have to practice. So, and take the friends that you have now.
Mm-hmm.
Start to have a conversation with them and say, hey, I want to build deeper friendships, even with y'all. Y'all know me, but I don't want y'all to be my emergency friend. I want to be able to call and say, hey, this happened or that happened. I want to invite you and give you permission to ask me more questions about my life. When you see something online or I bring something up, you have permission to ask me more questions.
Ooh, but right. I don't like when they ask me though, Jennifer, if I got a feeling.
It doesn't matter.
Okay, push through that feeling.
Yeah, and it's like, but this is the thing you say, ooh, this makes me feel uncomfortable when you ask me that. But that is a fair question. And you can answer to the level of your comfort, and then you can see, oh, I'm safe in answering this question. And then you just keep practicing and you keep practicing. You say, oh, really? Nothing happened. You have to practice it. You have to practice.
Okay.
How did you get good at podcasting? Practice. How did you get good at putting your lashes on?
Well, we still struggling.
We
but
still
yes,
struggling because
practice.
I got one right now that's trying to fall all the way in my eye.
I just got to do it though.
You have to practice, but you have to think about the value, right? You know the value of podcasting.
Mm-hmm.
You know the value of lashes.
Mm-hmm.
You know the value of working through something because you want to have a healthy marriage. Do you understand the value of having people in your life that you love and trust?
I am learning that value, that necessity.
Yes. And the more you see the value in it, the more you can take the risk.
Mm.
But
It'll
first
be
you
worth
have to,
it. I'll see it as worthwhile.
Yeah. But you have to disassociate it from your mother being the only person, because right now she's your only evidence. So you have to find other evidence because and actually, if you think about it, you have told a lot of your business and people haven't turned it against you. You get on here and talk about your business. They haven't turned it against you. It has endeared them to you.
You know what though? It's like in my mind, strangers on the internet versus like.
I know. But that's because that's what you're
So
saying.
I just need to practice that.
Yeah,
what I do
but
here,
it's still do there.
over
right.
there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it is a disconnect. And I'm gonna bring it back to mothering. Right?
Okay.
Because the way you have compartmentalized your life, even though you're not consciously telling your kids to do that, they will grow up and do the same thing.
Break that down for
For
me.
as much as you love them and you show them love,
Mm-hmm.
they might grow up to be people, I don't want people to know my business. And so when they need help.
No, that is my motivation for figuring all of my issues out right now.
Absolutely. Yeah, because they're going to model after you because they're going to see.
Mama don't have no friends.
No.
Mama ain't
They're going to see the polished version of you. And then they're going to see the other version of you. And they're going to be like, there's a disconnect there. But they're going to be like, oh, that's normal. I'm going to do the same thing. So you practice. This is mothering with the mother wound. This is how I become a better mother through this work. I don't become a better mother by, son, what do you want for dinner? In performance, it's how I deepen my relationship with myself. I'm then able to connect with my son on a more deeply, more authentic level. And then he can connect with himself on a more deeply authentic level. And then he can communicate his needs. We got into an argument last week. He stayed out late. I was like, bruh, you are not doing what you're supposed to be doing. I was 28 hot, right? He came in my room later that night. We had halfway made up. And he had said something and I kind of caught an attitude. And he took my hands. This is a 16-year-old. He said, stop. He said, I don't like when we're like this with each other. He said, I do not like when we are like this with each other. I want to cry right now. He was like, I love you. And he came, he laid on my chest, and he said, I'm sorry for what I did. He said, I know I shouldn't have stayed out. He said, but this is the first, I hope you don't kill me for telling this story. He was like, but this is like the first time I've really felt like I have friends. And I really just get so excited being around them and having people to talk to and hang out with. He said it wasn't like personal against you. And I was just like, the fact that he could even reason and understand why he did that, he came back and that he thought about it, that he could express it to me, that he could be vulnerable about his own life, where he is in his own development with his friends, and like also understand why you can't do that. And like we could just, and it was like, damn girl, you're doing a good job.
That part.
But it's only because when I'm able to come back to him, when I go off and say, I'm sorry.
And explain it.
I was tired. That really wasn't you. I remember him being like 10 and 11, because that's really when I got deep into this work, because I fucked up for a long time as a parent, right? But to come back and be like, I was tired. I didn't really, how I went off on you, that wasn't about you. I didn't have to say all those things. I didn't have to carry it like that. I really do apologize. And I'm going to watch that, and I'm not gonna continue to do that. And us being able to hug taught him how to be able to do that with me, which means he'll be able to do it out in the world. Mm-hmm. But it's just from me knowing I don't have to be right all the time. That's my own work. And knowing it's safe for me to show him my mistakes. He's not gonna turn on me. You have to risk it. And then when you realize that somebody might turn on you, say, okay, now this is an opportunity to set a boundary. It doesn't mean everybody's going to be that way. But there are people who will love you, who will cherish you, who will honor you, who will hold who you are safe, but you have to give them the opportunity.
And that is why healing is so important.
It's
It impacts not just yourself, but these damn kids. It literally impacts everything and everyone. I feel like we're going to have a part 2. I mean, we haven't even talked about
how it impacts your money, how it impacts your career.
Yes. All of it.
Because I talked about the high-performing women, but the women who are underemployed, how you manage your money.
Can we do like a series?
Yes, let's do a series.
Okay, I still need to sign up for the tell the people about the it's a masterclass.
Well,
Boot camp. What is it?
Well, it's an intensive. It's a 6-week intensive
okay.
called Resolve. It's a mother wound healing intensive that's going to be starting in June. You go to jenniferarnise.com, and if you just sign up for my free guide at the top of my website, it'll funnel you through. You'll get all the information. And we're talking about building a toolkit for healing your mother wound. And we're going to be meeting every week live. There's going to be hot seat coaching. And it's really important that this is a group program because so many of us, we're isolated. And we think nobody's going to understand what we're going through. But when you see other people having the same issues, some people further along than you, it builds a sense of community, which really, if you have a strained relationship with your mother, it's very hard to feel that you're a part of a community. You always feel like an outsider. To me, that's been the most painful thing for me. So we're going to resolve that.
And when I meet people whose mamas are way worse than mine, that makes me feel a little bit better. So I can get a little bit of that in the group. So I'm like,
we all have blessings that our mothers have given us. I'm not trying to get you to focus on those blessings, but as you heal, you'll see them.
And we can curse our mama out and you're not going to try to make us feel bad.
No, I'm never going to make you feel bad. And there's nothing I haven't heard. There's nothing I haven't said.
Not curse our mamas out, because she looking like, y'all don't curse your mama out. Not curse your mama out to her face.
Right.
But
absolutely.
in the group.
Yeah.
In a safe space.
But it's not about cursing her out. It is expressing our feelings authentically. Being in a space where I don't have to protect another. Because that's what we've been doing. Your mama. We can advocate for self first. We can be self-centered in this space and learn how to do that in a healthy way. And it will change your entire life.
jenniferarnise.com.
jenniferarnise.com.
What Instagram do you want everybody to follow?
Black Mother Wound.
Black Mother Wound. I'll make sure we put
Instagram,
all of that down
TikTok,
below.
And Twitter.
We'll put all the links, everything below. Get on the wait list. We'll make sure this comes out before June, because you're starting in June.
Yes.
Okay, so we got to get this out ASAP. Y'all, get in where you fit in, okay? Your girl is going to be in there. Don't be telling my business, though. But I'm working on that. So I ain't even going to be worried about you telling my business, because you're going to help me work through that.
Absolutely.
All right. If you have a mother wound, if you know anyone, I know you know somebody, okay, who you need to send this episode to, please do. You don't even have to say a word. Just send it to them. I believe this has been a very healing and helpful conversation. It's definitely been therapeutic for me. If you have enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, leave your girl a review, and let me know down in the comments what you want us to talk about when I bring Jennifer back. Thank you for tuning in. I'll catch you on the next episode. Peace.
This is the story of the one. As head of maintenance at a concert hall, he knows the show must always go on. That's why he works behind the scenes, ensuring every light is working, the HVAC is humming, and his facility shines. With Grainger's supplies and solutions for every challenge he faces, plus 24/7 customer support, his venue never misses a beat. Call quickgrainger.com or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.